Hi, and thanks for coming back to my videos. I hope that you're finding them useful. Thanks for your feedback. I am very mindful of your time. I want to ensure that you get the most out of my content. So, we're trying this new method and this new format in which I am spelling out right away what I will be talking about to ensure that you either take advantage of it and join in or just keep it out and perhaps in another opportunity you'll find something more relevant to your interests. Today, what I want to touch on is a great roundtable hosted by Green Wave. And kudos to Glenn and his team because it was such a jam packed session in 2.5 hours last Wednesday. There were roughly about 70 to 80 people that participated in a very informative virtual roundtable. Um, I think the who's who of the industry was there. It was so exciting to see people not only from Canada, the US, or everywhere, and not only the suppliers but many customers as well. So I think that's what I want to focus on today: is to grab some of the key actions and key concepts that I took from that session. Again, so well organized and put together by Glenn and the Green Dog Adventure team. So to get started, I think we were in for a treat with Lincoln Bleven from Stanford. And what he said at the get go, the top: electrification of fleets is unprecedented. Because we're not just talking about the vehicle itself, we're talking about the energy infrastructure, the generation, the transmission, and the distribution in electrical terms, or the upstream, midstream, downstream in the oil and gas terms, that goes alongside the wholesale change in vehicle technologies. And we have to do it across borders, across jurisdictions, in synchronization with many different standards from the utility perspective, and also being mindful that fleets need to generate a return on their investment. Otherwise, fleet operators will simply not see the benefit. That being said, later on, we're going to touch about those other benefits of electrifying that may not be perceived at first in your ROI, but are also part of this conversation. Actually, let's jump right in. Electric school buses. We were very fortunate to have a few electric school bus districts in participation in this session. And they were very kind to share with us their experience to date. And it's very important to break this down item by item because they have been learning lessons as they go. And it's in my best interest to ensure that other school districts, as they're embarking on their electrification plans, that they start thinking about these things so that they learn from what others have come and done before, to ensure that they get their best lessons and the best practices in the industry. So what we're seeing right now is key challenge that came up from the top is supplier support. And that comes in many different things. But essentially, suppliers need to pick up the phone when their customer is calling for help. Okay? Let's keep being mindful about who customers are. Perhaps you were tasked with running the whole electrification program for a school district that's already facing quite significant budget and staffing constraints. And you have to figure out, well, what are you doing with your current fleet of buses? What are the routes, the scheduling, the logistics around it? And then on top, figure out, okay, I need to find new OEMs for the vehicles, new maintenance partners and operations partners. And now you have to figure out, oh, well, how to charge them. So you need to find the charger, you need to find the electrical infrastructure, you need to work with your utility for the electrical service, and you need to find software that manages it all. And going back to this whole picture of supplier support is that interoperability. One of the school district supervisors that was in participation during the Green Wave event told us how he had to chase the vehicle manufacturer to get a software update so that the buses could communicate with not only the charger, but the cloud-based platform for the charging management system. It got so frustrating that they stopped doing the working and using the CMS because it was just too much of a hassle, and they didn't have time, and they didn't see the benefits of that charging management system. So this is an opportunity to have a more integrated solution and being mindful of our customers in this space, because they have to face quite a bit of challenges, and they look towards the suppliers for that help and that guidance. So once the sale is done, well, we have to keep working on it. And here's where the charging as a service can come into play. Let's jump right into it. Because at the bottom of the conference, one of the themes that emerged was the lack of CapEx. So when we're talking about CapEx, it's a big issue. And many school districts are relying on grants and incentives to justify the investment and to plan ahead their capital budgets for the foreseeable future. So this is where charging as a service can help bridge that gap and help realize the operational efficiencies. So far we've been talking about the supplier support, software updates. A software update can break something in an update, and well, you need that support to help them get back up to operation. The cost of vehicle that can be mitigated with an as a service or some creative financing and structuring around it. And also the charging scheduling. It's also another topic that came up, and interesting to hear that, because I think many people trying to lower that peak, the peak demand I talking about, are working on scheduling, but perhaps the scheduling needs to be more nimble so that when operations shift, the buses are ready to go. That's it. They need to be ready to go. So perhaps that the scheduling and the peak load management needs to be not as aggressive. Now, here we have to work about the full electrification and deployment plan, and how to smart size the infrastructure for today, but with an eye out for tomorrow as well. Now, we were talking about several challenges, but the key thing that I want you to take from this video is that today, electric school buses actually generate a positive return on their communities. Okay, this operator was saying how their drivers are way less fatigued at the end of a shift, how the kids are so much more happier and actually having better health outcomes because of the, well, eliminated emissions at the tailpipe. Okay, I grew up with asthma. I grew up in a very polluted city. So for me, if I can see that, we're getting rid of smog and diesel exhaust, that's a net positive right there. And then there's the operational improvements due to reduced fuel consumption, fuel costs. So there's the positives, and these challenges that I laid out before are just what we have to work with as suppliers to ensure that we can help school districts realize these benefits. So another thing that popped up during the conference was emergency services. We had someone local to me join in and share how they're starting to figure out how they're going to electrify emergency services. And here, we don't have the luxury of waiting for a charge. And the bigger issue for emergency services is that precisely when you're having an emergency, there is a non-zero chance that the power grid may go out. So how can you provide reliable and resilient service during a blackout? Integrated solutions, decentralized solutions for energy storage will become essential. But again, the opportunity here, an electric ambulance with enough charge can then power field emergency equipment. So again, electrifying these emergency vehicles can open up other use cases. I know still early, but that's the game. That's the big opportunity to enable new uses for these mobile batteries. Don't get me started on V2X, V2G. I'm gonna have a separate video just on that topic, on how to leverage these mobile batteries and make the business case even stronger for electrifying. But tying it all together, it was a great session. We have folks from many of the great players in the industry, manufacturers, software vendors, many customers as well, nonprofits, consultants, financing people. Like, it was really, really well put together. So again, thank you, Glenn. Thank you to Green Duck Ventures for hosting the Green Wave session, the roundtable on fleet electrification, and I look forward to many more of these events. We really need to bring the industry together to share best practices. And I will leave you with a message that we got from one of our esteemed colleagues here in Vancouver, Shaina. She said that we are not competing against each other. Our suppliers should not be competing against each other. They should be collaborating to ensure that customers learn about these success stories, about these lessons, so that they feel more confident in the decision making to mitigate, emissions by taking advantage of electrification. So it's a win-win-win-win. It's just that we have to demonstrate and showcase these success stories. That's something I will be working on. So please stay tuned for that, because that's really what I'm aiming to do with this content, is to showcase the best practices and the success stories in our industry. Thanks again, and see you next time.